Hello, everyone, and welcome today to the lovely session that we are having with the India and Korea Business Forum that is currently being conducted with the support of the Atal Innovation Mission Niti Aayog, Government of Andhra Pradesh, APEITA, Gyeonggi Government, South Korea, Gyeonggi Business and Science Accelerator, and KOTRA, the Korean Trade Promotion Agency. We welcome today all our delegates, our speakers, and our guests that have taken time out for this session. We are going to be focusing today on the Korean technology and manufacturing and its focus on India. We shall also be focusing on the startup and innovation climate and the Korea India connection. It is a great honor for us today to have such a lovely speaker list amongst us. And we hope that all of you delegates shall be enjoying the session and a very interesting session. The event is supported by the India Business Group, the World Sikh Chamber of Commerce, Global India Business Forum, and the Karelia Chamber of Commerce. I really thank all our delegates from all over the world that are joining us today for this session. We shall begin the session with the national anthem of both the countries. Moving on, I would now like to invite our guest for today and the keynote opening address by His Excellency Mr. Jong Ho Choi, Minister at the Embassy of the Republic of Korea. Excellency Choi has been an outstanding person in the Indian diplomatic scenario, and not only in India, all over the world. He has been serving in USA, China, as the Deputy Director of Cultural Cooperation in the past. And not only that, he's been served as a consular in Switzerland, as Minister Consular, Embassy of Korea in Netherlands, in Uzbekistan, and Ambassador at Large in Seoul too. And we are very lucky to have him with us in India for enhancing the relationships between India and Korea on multiple fronts. Excellency Choi, I welcome you to today's forum. The floor is all yours.
Thank you for inviting me, Mr. Singh. It is my great pleasure to join you for this forum. Let me first thank the IECIB for hosting India-Korea Business Innovation Forum. also for giving me the opportunity to interact with this select group of leaders and experts. My heartfelt greetings to all the distinguished participants. May I say that we could not have met at a better time than this to talk about Korea-India economic partnership. After a year of despondency, we have stepped into the new decade with the good news of a vaccine rollout against COVID-19 in many countries. India is a leading country in the world vaccination program. And Korea is also making great efforts to get vaccination on the fast track. At this point in time, I do believe that the worst impact of COVID-19 on the economies of the world is well behind us. It is in this context a stronger trade and investment relations between our two countries has some importance in regaining and sustaining growth momentum. Despite the pandemic-induced impacts on our economic growth, Korean economy has performed fairly well. It has registered the highest GDP growth in year 2020 among the 30 OECD countries, and the second highest in G20 countries. The Korean economy is expected to grow faster than those of its peers in year 2021 also. We expect the economy is to grow by 3% or more in year 2021, based on sound performance of sectors such as semiconductors, electronics, biotech, pharma, and healthcare products, to name a few. As I understand, the Indian economy is showing a strong sign of recovery with the early rollout of a mass vaccination program in the country and the Indian government's commitment to revive the business ecosystem. It is expected the Indian economy will rebound in year 2021. According to IMF Economic Outlook, India is expected to grow 11.5%, greater than that of China, which is 8.1%. As our two countries are making concerted efforts to shore up their respective economies, a stronger bilateral partnership for growth becomes imperative. The importance of India for Korea lies in it being as the next economic frontier. India is not just a country of boundless economic potential. It is a country with which Korea shares century-old friendship and trusted partnership without any conflict of interest. With its GDP at 2.2 trillion, which is projected to touch 5 trillion by year 2024. It's a billion-plus population and the ever-expanding middle class. India presents itself as the new economic frontier for Korean business. India's attraction for Korea is not just in its size, but also as a manufacturing hub for exports. Similarly, importance of Korea to India lies in Korea's strength to contribute to India's economic development. Korea has everything that India needs for its economic transformation. name any development priority of Indian government, be it economic development, defense manufacturing, ICT, biotech, pharma. Korea has the core competence in each of these fields to partner with India in nearly a big way. While Korea-India economic cooperation has been on rise ever since India opened its economy in early 1990s, the past 4 years stand out as a transformational. This has been the result of conscious policy efforts made by President Moon Jae-in and the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who has shown necessary political will and determination to overcome hesitation of the past to push Korea-India special strategic partnership to a higher plane. For Prime Minister Modi, Korea is a role model of economic growth for India. In his Act East policy, Korea is an indispensable economic partner. Similarly, President Moon Jae-in, in his new Southern policy, looks at India as a country of great economic and strategic importance. Today, Korea enterprises have a sizable presence in India, playing an important role in its growth and development. Samsung and LG Electronics are household names in India. Samsung has the world's largest smartphone factory in Noida. Besides, Samsung enjoys leading position in the overall India handset market with a sizable share of 24%. Hyundai Motors is the largest passenger car exporter and the second largest car manufacturer with an 18% share in the domestic market. Kia Motors has recently entered in the Indian market, but in a short time, it has emerged as the fourth largest car maker in the country. During the pandemic, ST Biosense, a Korean diagnostic company, which has its plants in Haryana, produced a rapid testing kit on a large scale, thus contributing to prevention and control of COVID-19 in India. As we look to the future, I see great potential for future expansion of bilateral economic ties. Korean companies are bullish about India's future growth potential and keen to tap its emerging opportunities. During the last couple of decades, China was the largest destination for Korea trade and investment. But China, over the years, have lost a competitive advantage in use to offer to foreign companies in terms of cost and other factors. Against this backdrop, Korean companies are looking for new partnerships with the countries with which Korea shares long-standing trusting relations. Search for new partners has got an added momentum in the wake of COVID-19, which exposed the risk of overdependence on global supply chain being concentrated in one country. The emerging geopolitical situation has further underscored the importance of a dependable and diversified supply chain. This presents India a historic opportunity to become an alternative manufacturing destination. I'm happy to note that to seize this opportunity, India has announced Atma Nirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, or self-reliant India policy, with the emphasis on making India as a manufacturing hub. Korean companies are eager to further strengthen their participation in Make in India initiative. Recently, Samsung announced that it will move out its mobile and IT display production unit from China to India. Korean defense industry is also keen to make a big investment in defense manufacturing in India. The global pandemic has also brought to the forefront new avenue for bilateral cooperation in IT, pharma, biotech, healthcare products, among others. Given our respective strengths in these areas, I am sure that our two sides will harvest these new opportunities to build stronger partnership for mutual benefit. For robust and mutually beneficial bilateral economic ties, it is important that Indian business must flourish in Korea as much as Korean business in India. Some notable examples of Indian investment in Korea includes Tata Motors takeover of a commercial vehicle of Daewoo Motors, Aditya Birla Group's acquisition of Arkan Taihan Aluminum, and Mahindra's stake in Korean SUV maker Ssangyong. Recently released Bloomberg Innovation Index year 2021 has nominated Korea as the world's most innovative country. There is a lot of focus in the country on emerging technology of the fourth industrial revolution. Korea provides a vibrant economic system for startups in high-tech research with solutions across IA, logistics, biotech, robotics, urban solutions, and more. I would like to see Indian entrepreneurs, particularly tech companies and the startups, to explore mutually beneficial business opportunities in this important sector. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, our two countries are perfect partners for each other with complementary strengths and limited potential for economic cooperation. I am sure ICID and the other industry bodies can play an important role in actualizing the best untapped potential of bilateral economic relations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Choi. It's our pleasure to have you with us today, and how you have highlighted that the Korea and Korean companies are touching each and every Indian in India, and I'm sure that there must not be any house in India without a Korean product, let it be white goods or a mobile phone or any other item or a vehicle. I am sure that we are touched by a Korean product in some way or the other in our lives. And as you clearly mentioned, Korea has been at the peak of innovation, and we have a lot to learn from each other. We are a huge market demographic, and we really look forward to having you with us, to partner with us, and to grow together in a long period of time. Thank you. I request you, Minister, to please stay with us for a few more minutes. And I request you, if you can, we are having an innovation challenge that is being partnered with the Atal Innovation Mission and Paras Defense and Space Technologies, and it is going to be in the sector of aerospace. The director Anish Mehta is here with us. I request you if you can declare the innovation challenge open. We hope that in this innovation challenge, we shall be able to partner with more Korean companies. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Just a second. We can have a few words from you on the same.
Yes, as you mentioned, the innovation sector, technology sector, like defense industry, aeronautics industry, and the defense, and that sector is we are very keen to cooperate with Indian companies. So just explore great potential for each other's future together.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Minister Choi. Thank you, Minister Choi. Moving on to our next guest and speaker, our partner state, the state of Andhra Pradesh. I request Sri Nandakishore Reddy ji, IIS, the Managing Director of Andhra Pradesh Technological Services Limited, APTS, and MD and Group CEO, APTIA, Government of Andhra Pradesh. Sir, we welcome you to our session today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Manpreet. Thank you for inviting me to this forum. So, Honorable Minister, Excellency Mr. Jang Choi, and Mr. R. Ramanan, and Mr. Anish Mehta, and Mr. Yang from Kotra, and other participants. At the outset, I am happy to be here on this forum to present investment opportunities in the state of Andhra Pradesh, and also to discuss some mutual avenues of collaboration in near future. So let me share my presentation. Yeah, next. So this is the snapshot of Andhra Pradesh. So it is a very vibrant and a fast-growing economy with a strong agriculture and industrial base. Like it is the 8th largest state in India with 4.65% of India's total GDP. And the state has the second largest coastline of almost along 974 kilometers. And the state boasts of robust infrastructure in terms of rail, road, and air connectivity, and also the port connectivity. So as a state, we intend to provide the best-in-class infrastructure to our investors with zero hassles, and there is abundance of skilled labor availability and end-to-end hand-holding support from the units. So as the minister rightly pointed out, India and Korea definitely share greater bonds, deep bonds beyond the business. So as our Honorable Prime Minister said, yes, as part of our Look East policy, Korea is, in fact, it's not just a business country, it's much more greater in terms of cultural connectivity and all these things. So from the state of Andhra Pradesh also, so we view Korea in terms of like cultural connect as far as at par with the business connect also. So coming to the state of Andhra Pradesh, so it is ranked first in ease of doing business. In the skills report of 2019, so we have ranked as first rank in the employability also. So we do have 4 ports and 3 international airports under operation right now. And under the strong leadership, political leadership, and there is a transparent governance and the policies. So here, so our government is focusing on human capital development. So right from a student, so it is the major focus areas here. The government is focusing on education and health. So right from the student joining first standards to their professional degree, so the government is hand-holding them in terms of various policies, various welfare activities, like all the English medium and other means of cooperation from the state side, so that they become a fully like their personality is developed, so that they become industry ready. So we are focusing on becoming, making our citizens like a world-class citizens. Yes. So next is like we are focusing on the health facilities, like to the extent like every village we are going to have a village clinics, so that we believe that so any industry or any business will flourish only when the human capital or human beings that are working in their fields are thriving with the health, as well as like their personality is like world class. So that is how that leadership thinking is. So that's where actually we are going forward. And in the same lines, we are developing skill development centers. Like we do have some 300 plus engineering colleges and 300 plus polytechnics and 500 plus ITAs. So for all of these students who are coming out of these colleges, so we are providing the last mile skill development so that they become industry ready. So apart from this, when it comes to the industry, so our government fully knows what an industry wants, like what an industry wants. So one is like uninterrupted power supply 24/7 with no hitches. And second thing is industrial water has to be there, abundant land has to be there, abundant skilled people has to be there. So these are the 4 areas that we do have in the state of Andhra Pradesh. Like 40,000 plus acres of land is already available. Like I said, there are skilled manpower available at least cheapest cost when you compare with any other state in Andhra Pradesh. So 24/7 power supply is there. I'll come to the at what rates and all in the later point of presentation. And apart from that, water supply. So coming to as His Excellency Mr. Shah has rightly said, so Korea is a household name in terms of what, like LG, Samsung, and now the Kia cars are becoming a household names for all our Indians. So so to house them, like actually to house them, the Andhra Pradesh is the only state we are having 4 world-class electronic manufacturing clusters. So right now we do have one at Sri City. These are the places, like 2 electronic manufacturing clusters at Tirupati and 1 greenfield electronic manufacturing cluster that is going to come up at Kadapa. So we are already housing assembly sector like Carbon, Silicon, and then Sunny Oppo in our electronic manufacturing clusters, where in fact Samsung line is also there. Some models have been manufactured here. So when you come to the consumer electronics, so we do have Dixon, Walsin, and Wingtech. So Dixon manufactures a large scale of Samsung and LG consumer electronics. So apart from that, actually at Sri City, we do have a world-class so original equipment manufacturer like Foxconn, which like so many models of Samsung, LG, or for that matter. So almost all the models are coming out of this Foxconn studio. So we do house the world's largest ODM and world's largest OEM also within the state of Andhra Pradesh. And interestingly, we do have the Korean and Japanese clusters. So within these areas. So this is the already available infrastructure in our state for electronic manufacturing. So the location. So where do these electronic manufacturing clusters are located? Like in this state, this is the only state again. So where 3 industrial nodes pass through. so there are 3 mega industrial nodes that the center has planned, and these 3 industrial nodes pass through the state, and the electronic manufacturing clusters are located in the just vicinity of these nodes. So that's where, these nodes, along with these nodes, actually the port is just next to these electronic manufacturing clusters, so that the export becoming easier, and then logistics cost will come down drastically. Next. So this is what I'm talking about. We are going to come up with a world-class YSR electronic manufacturing cluster. So this is a greenfield electronic manufacturing cluster, so which is just next to a airport, and we are going to come up with a cargo terminal and conveyor system proposed to link Kadapa airport here. So and this place is located nearer to the major consumption centers like Chennai and Bangalore, the equidistant from this thing. And at the same time, this is equally located very nearer to the Krishnapatnam port, which is a major private port in the state. Next. So apart from hand holding and providing this power and industrial water and all, so the state is also offering a bucket of incentive to hand hold the industries. So like that, we do have a capital subsidy, and we do provide power. So power we are providing at 4 rupees 55 paisa, which is the least among all the states, and that we are we are giving it forever. So it's not like actually some states are saying that for 5 years we'll give that, and after that we'll increase. So that kind of things are not there. So the state has taken a conscious view that at this price, so we are going to give this power for everything, forever, for all the industries forever. So likewise, actually, we do have a host of incentives like tax subsidy, and then interest subvention, then even that distance also logistics subsidy, and we do have all these things. Apart from this, so what are the so these are the financial incentives. So what are the other kind of like policy support that the state is offering to the investors basically? So we do have a single window clearance system, where if a company comes and applies for land or something, so we do have a fastest approval system that they will get all the approvals within 21 days. So our history shows that, like, in fact, actually 94% of the companies have got their approvals within 14 days. So apart from that, and we are building ready external and internal infrastructure such as the plug and play factory sheds, and we do have end-to-end hand-holding teams, and we are giving this land allotment also within 30 days. Next. So apart from this, so one more innovative measure that our state has taken is to apply production-linked incentive to these EMCs. So we are offering this production-linked incentive as 100% of FCI in the greenfield EMCs, and then 50% of FCI in brownfield like EMC 1 and EMC 2. So if an investor is coming up with certain investment, say so 500 crores or something, so eventually he will get back entire amount of money within no time. As the Excellence has rightly pointed out, Korea is famous for, like, it is a master in consumer electronics, video games, and then wearable electronics, imaging devices, and electronics components manufacturing basically. So apart from that, yes, medical electronics, and then of course connected car and auto components. So electronics. So I would request the investors from Korea to look into this electronic component manufacturing, because so as I said, we are having the assembly farms such as world's largest OEM and ODM already available here. So if a component manufacturer also comes in, which is a logical sequence of that these things, so the final product will be cheaper, and also the entire cost of production will also be cheaper for the companies also. So in these sectors, actually, I'd request this forum to connect us with Korean high-end electronic companies who are manufacturing for companies in India, of course. So and connect us with the Korean industry to facilitate setting up of medical electronics, as we have this AP MedTech zone, which houses 81 medical equipment manufacturers already at Visakhapatnam, at a place called Visakhapatnam within Andhra Pradesh. So this is where we seek your support to explore enabling the setting up of medical electronics manufacturing facilities also in our medtech zone. Next. So a case in point, as I was saying, actually, I was saying our state is providing handhold and all these things. So the case in point is the success story of Kia Motors. It is in front of you. So within the land allotment has done in somewhere around July 2017. Within an year, actually, Kia has come up with a prototype car manufactured, and then full-scale operations have started in December 2018. And now, as the Excellence has rightly said, so it has become one of the largest car manufacturers within India. So you can see that is there in front of your own eyes. So it is at no place called Anantapur. They came, they kept their faith here. So they have invested, and then right now the results are there in front of you. Next. So if that is what is for electronics, and then for the IT. So we are focusing on again 3-4 sectors on IT. Like so, first create infrastructure like plug and play offices, and then the physical infrastructure. So land and all these things. And second thing is digital infrastructure also, like provide them internet for all the villages, high-speed internet, even at the level of internet villages also. So this is where the state is working on. So this is what we are promising to the investors coming forward. Next. So a host of incentive for IT industry is also there, like employment, work from home, gig in boost gig economy incentives, and R&D, power tariff, and all these things. So these are a part of what we offer. Like actually, we do know that actually incentives doesn't like definitely actually people are not coming for incentives and all. So just this is a new place, and to start an operation within a new state, that cost will be higher. So till a certain extent, actually, apart from hand-holding, we do want to support, the state want to support to a certain extent to the investors. So that's why we are going to come up with a policy of incentives for both electronics and IT. Next. See, apart from the incentives, actually, the state is coming up with a concept called concept cities within the state. Like we are planning to come up with 3 concept cities with an acres like 2,000 to 3,000 acres each. So where so complete end-to-end infrastructure will be provided by the state, and where employment opportunities like infrastructure like residential as well as commercial. So everything, entertainment, everything will be provided there and there. So the idea is to make these cities as self-sustainable. So this is where actually we do require your support to come forward and share the ideas or something, so that actually we can take it forward to the next level. So as the forum also deals with the startup, and just now they have launched this Ahwana, the new startup challenge. So we'd like to mention what our state offers. So my colleague Mr. Manoj will ponder upon more on this startup policy. Manoj.
Hi everybody. It's like for the next 3 years, we are planning to build a self-sustainable department over here and establish each incubation center in each and every district. And also, we would like to plan for incubation enablers, not only like nodal officers, but we have a incubation enablers. Like Korea is a hub for many startup ecosystems, and we have a SULO ecosystem over there. So we would like to invite them for establish enabler over here. And next plan was the focus areas would be like e-literacy, agri-tech, and the mentioned areas. And we are also active participants in the Atal incubation mission. We are the first state to get the approval around 1,040 schools, and 400 schools were already have sanctioned the funds, and implementation was under progress. And one state funded university, Sri Krishna Devaraya University, has also selected for the Atal incubation mission, and they have incubated 17 startups till now, and one IP was filed. The incentives given to the startup was like 24-week Jumpstart program to nurture their business. And also we have a center of excellence from NASCOM, which is also like free of cost for 6 months, and also the market materials and accessible to the startups whichever is participating in the ecosystem. And we would also like to have alliance with Invest Korea, which is a startup forum from Korea. So this is one thing. And over to Nandkishore.
Thank you, Manoj. Yes. So, Your Excellency, and my other colleagues and friends. So, as I said, the state has already undertaken several reforms to facilitate a business-friendly environment. So, I welcome you. Will handhold you, or so you are welcome to connect us with this for any queries and all. It is in front of you. So, thank you very much, Mr. Manpreet, for giving us this opportunity to showcase our state as an investment destination.
Thank you, Nandakishore. It's a pleasure to have you with us here today and been aware. It's a great information that you shared with us today. I'm sure we have a lot of Korean participants with us today. And they shall be happy to utilize the.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving on in today's session, today we are having Mr. Yong Seon Park, who's the director of Korea Trade Investment Promotion Agency, KOTRA, and he's based out of Kolkata. We shall be discussing with him on the trade and investments with Korea. And Mr. Yong Seon Park, the floor is all yours. I request you to please go on with your address. Please continue, sir. Am I audible?
Hello.
Yes,
Hello,
Mr. Young. Can you hear us?
Yeah, yes. Hello, this is Yong Seon Park from KOTRA. It takes a little time to share the file. Now,
no problem.
Now,
so please
now, can you see the PPT file?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then I'll start right away. Good afternoon. My name is Yong Seon Park. I'm working for Korea Trade Investment Promotion Agency in Kolkata. I've been working in India for last 6 years. I spent some time in Delhi and mostly in Kolkata. Today, I'm going to talk about India and Korea trade and investment relationship. Mostly, my presentation is related to my experience in working here. KOTRA's role is like a matchmaking. So we connect Indian companies and Korean companies in their doing business in import, export, and investment. As you understand, in the matchmaking, both sides should be satisfied to make things done. So today my focus is what factors can contribute to the mismatching in each side and also how to improve in this matter. Firstly, I would like to talk about general trade statistics between Korea and India. As you can see in this chart, Korean export to India always is higher than Indian export to Korea. Sometimes it's more than 2 times. Overall, the long-term trend is that the trade volume increased, and last year because of COVID, you can see that Korean export to India and also Indian export to Korea drastically decreased. Another thing you can notice from here is that Korean export is always exceeding Indian exports. This matter I will deal with it a little later. In terms of the products, there are some different kind of products Korea export and also India export to Korea. The major Korean export to India, that products some machinery, chemical products, electronics, and iron products, that kind of products. While Indian exports, mostly they are related to raw materials like mineral, iron products, and also agricultural goods. And in terms of Korean investment in India, these days the investment volume is relatively stabilized. And of course, last year, that investment amount is also quite much decreased due to the coronavirus. Now, let me talk about the pattern of trade. Firstly, you can see some prominent Korean companies presence in India, such as Samsung, LG, Hyundai, Kia. And most of them have big manufacturing facilities in India. So much of a portion of Korean investment in India is related to manufacturing sector. And because of their heavy presence in manufacturing sector in India, they bring some parts and raw materials from Korea. That also contributes to the Korean export and trade surplus with India. Korea and India, they have different comparative advantages. Korean companies, they mostly focus on high technology products, while Indian companies, they focus on low-cost products. In terms of demand side, different consumer tastes and preferences also attribute to the different pattern of the consumptions. For example, in India, because of a relatively low disposable income, value for money is the standard concept of Indian consumer market. So the reason why Korean companies focus on sophisticated products is that domestic consumers, they want that kind of products because their affordable income is relatively high. So instead of wanting some cheap products, they
Mr. Young, please unmute yourself. You have just become on mute. Can you please unmute? Yeah.
Okay.
Please continue.
Yes. So to meet domestic consumers demand Korean companies produce cutting-edge technology and highly stylized that kind of products. And also the problem is that many Korean companies who are trying to enter India market, they assume that their domestically successful products can be also successful in Indian market. But Indian consumers, their tastes and preferences are quite different from those in Koreans. Okay. So Korean companies, they put emphasis on product quality, superiority, and for Indian importers, their priority is product price. So when I watch some importer-exporter negotiations, their emphasis are quite different. Korean companies try hard to explain the product superiority and some value-added features, while Indian companies ask how much is the price, and can you cut the price or something like that. So there are many discrepancies in each side's demand. So the outcome is that many Indian companies simply choose Chinese products over Koreans because Korean products are simply too much expensive. And Korean companies also think that considering the price differences, Indian market is not suitable for their product export. That's why they seek other markets. And now let me talk about investment in India. One thing, very interesting thing I found out is that only a few big companies are successful in Korea. I gave example like Hyundai Motors, Kia Motors, Samsung Electronics, LG Electronics. Other than them, you cannot find small and medium-sized companies in India. The reason is that Indian business environment is quite tough due to the complicated, sometimes conflicting governing laws and regulations, bureaucracy, corruption, and lack of transparency. And only big companies can overcome such obstacles with a long-term vision and perspective. Small and medium-sized companies cannot afford to such a long-term perspective. So that's why it's very hard to find some success story of Korean SME manufacturing companies in India. And many Indian governments, they provide some special economic zones and promote them and inviting Korean companies to invest there. Not only Korean companies, but foreign companies. The problem is that just creating special economic zones and preparing some pieces of land for factories is not enough. It's necessary maybe, but it's not enough to attract foreign companies. Foreign companies, they consider other factors such as supply chain, transportation, living environment, things like that. And so when we think about making in India, we have to consider these kind of factors. And there is another concept called the Make for India. The concept is that the combination of a satisfactory product quality and affordable price is the hallmark of a success in Indian market. And actually, Korean big companies like Samsung Electronics and Hyundai Motors, Kia Motors, they all produce products suitable for Indian market. That's why they are quite successful. And I presented my brief story about Korean and Indian trade and investment. My impression is that India has a really huge market and a lot of potential for Korean companies. The problem is that different parties, they have different expectations. Indian government and Indian companies, they think that because we have this huge market, foreign companies have a lot of opportunities here in India, and they should come and investment and have to do business, import, export, things like that. But from the Korean perspective, they also misunderstand the Indian market. They think that just successful products, whether it's domestically or globally, they can automatically be successful in Indian market. But there should be some compromise and some customization suitable for Indian market. So to be mutually successful, each party should come up with some alternative strategies, whether it's a joint venture investment with the Korean and Indian companies, or OEM production, or any other third option. And in this endeavor, KOTRA is the bridge between Indian and Korean companies, and we are providing a lot of services when it comes to matchmaking, whether through trade delegation, exhibition, and even one-on-one business meeting. And these days, we also provide some cyber business meeting. So that's all what I'm going to say. And thank you and very much. Thank you.
Mr. Young, thank you so much for such an honest description of the Indian scenario. But there are certain things I would like to highlight, and I shall be happy to. Like you rightly mentioned, there are issues when the small and medium companies come into the Indian scenario, and it is not easy. The issue then is also of the price, which is because of the demographic of the country. And I would like to highlight that our chamber, the Indian Chamber of International Business, has been working with small and medium companies in India and abroad, and has been very successful specifically in this sector. I would like to also highlight that there is a little challenge in market entry, but that is if you come on your own. And the same thing exists even when an Indian company goes to Korea to start his own business. There have been cases of large companies being successful, like you rightly said, like Mahindra going to Korea, and Kia, Samsung, LG coming to India. But both companies or large companies have been successful because they have the perseverance for the long run to hire local talent, to understand each other's way of life, the cultures, and that takes time. So it's not easy for a small company, let it be an Indian entering into Korea or Korean coming into India. So what we as a chamber advise is hand-holding, collaborations, and joint ventures, which makes life easy. So in case if you have any Korean companies in the small and medium sector that are having issues of market entry, please do approach us. We will find you the right partners. And yes, Make in India is definitely the way out because of the price issues. And in the long run, it benefits both partners. So any support needed, we shall be happy to help you, sir.
Yeah, I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
We are lucky right now to have been joined by Shri R. Ramananji, who is the Mission Director for Atal Innovation Mission and the Additional Secretary, Niti Aayog, Government of India. He is one person who needs no introduction, and he has been on the forefront of India innovating, Make in India, and also to ensure that India leads and catches up with the rest of the world faster than anything else. Ramananji, I welcome you to today's forum.
Yeah, thank you, Manpreet.
Welcome, sir. The floor is all yours.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Manpreet, and good afternoon to everybody who has logged on to this particular session. It is indeed a pleasure and privilege for me to be able to join this very illustrious panel. And I just heard all that Mr. Young had to say on the strategic nature of India-Korea collaboration. And I think this is most appropriate point to discuss this as India is one of the fastest growing economies of the world. It enjoys what they call as a demographic dividend, with more than 65% of our population of 1.4 billion under 35 years old. And we also have a world which is being completely changed because of transformations in technology. Technology is becoming affordable, accessible, available, and advanced. And new technologies and emerging technologies like 3D printing, robotics, IoT or Internet of Things, augmented virtual reality, IR 4.0, and cloud services, as well as artificial intelligence, blockchain, are revolutionizing the way that we are creating solutions for problems that exist not only right now, but also anticipating problems of the future. Indeed, the COVID-19 crisis has revealed to all of us how a simple virus can disrupt nations across the world, how it can disrupt lives and livelihoods, how it can disrupt supply chains, how it can create a fear of uncertainty of other problems and other pandemics in the horizon, how issues like climate change, which we have been talking about, but which we have not really faced the ferocity of, how they can create even more graver disruptions to the world economy and to the well-being of our people. And therefore, it has also become imperative at this point in time to see how we can all actively collaborate in being able to address these challenges and convert these challenges into opportunities of innovation and entrepreneurship. Indeed, we would all be better off as a world if we know how to work together. And therefore, this Indo-Korea collaboration on various fronts, whether it is manufacturing, whether it is in education, whether it is in transportation systems, whether it is in social innovation and social welfare, or whether it be for the economic development of both the countries and for the world, it becomes a very important point for all of us to consider and discover. Atal Innovation Mission, which I have been very fortunate to be associated with over the last 4 years, is a flagship national innovation initiative at the Niti Aayog. The Niti Aayog, as many of you know, or some of you would know, is the National Institution for Transforming India. It is the think tank of India. It is the area where a number of new policies, new initiatives, Digital India initiatives, as well as initiatives that the Honorable Prime Minister has been announcing for the various sectors of our country are being conceived and are being implemented. The Atal Innovation Mission has one very simple focus. How do we create and promote a vibrant ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship across the length and breadth of our country? How do we ensure that a country which enjoys a demographic dividend with 1.4 million schools, more than 10,500 engineering and related institutions, more than 39,000 colleges, and more than 150 million young students entering into the workplace over the next 5 to 10 years, how do we convert this tremendous energy, this youthful talent, this enthusiasm that is there, convert it into a very powerful force of transformation of our country. Not only transforming our country, but bringing great benefits to the rest of the world. And that is only possible if we are able to create and empower an ecosystem that enables these youngsters from schools, universities, and entering into the industry into an ecosystem of problem solving, innovative thinking, and entrepreneurship. And that is why the Atal Innovation Mission has launched thousands of tinkering labs in schools, where young students from grade 6 to grade 12 get acquainted with and get familiar with and tinker with and play with the emerging technologies of the future. Technologies like 3D printing, robotics, IoT, miniaturized electronics, augmented virtual reality through do-it-yourself kits. We encourage the young students in our schools from grade 6 to grade 12 across the country to create solutions for problems they see in and around the communities they live in. Not academic problems, not esoteric problems, but problems that they actually see on their way to the school, from their home, on the way to the mall, on the way to the nearest playground, on the way to the hospital. What are the problems they see in and around the communities that they live in, and how do they become problem solvers, innovators, and the job creators of the future? We have established more than 7,000 Atal Tinkering Labs across the country, and about 10,000 will be operationalized before the end of this year. It is one of the largest game-changing education-based initiatives to stimulate a country into make in India innovations and make for the world innovations. Now, we have more than 3.5 million young students between grade 6 to grade 12 in our country who are being exposed to all this problem-solving, innovative thinking, so that they convert themselves from a rote learning mindset to a problem-solving, innovative mindset. When they enter into universities, we are creating an ecosystem of incubators, world-class incubators to promote world-class startups. As all of you are aware, India is already having more than 50,000 startups. We have more than 34 unicorns which have been born out of this country, 11 of which came up during the COVID-19 times, during the year of the COVID-19 crisis. Now that is an enormous positive impact of the innovative capability that this country possesses. But how do we enhance that with collaborations with Korea, where the skill, the talent, the innovative capabilities of Korea combined with the scale of problems and solutions that India has to address can be combined, and thereby create a more harmonious development of not only Korea and India, but also solutions for the rest of the world. And therefore, these incubators, world-class incubators, would provide support to world-class startups to overcome the various valleys of death, as they call in the startup life cycle: mentoring support, venture capital support, business planning and strategy support, market domain knowledge support, HR support or ITES support, access to research labs or technology labs. And this is an area of great potential collaboration between Korea and India to be able to see how the startups create solutions, not only that India needs, but also that Korea may need in India or Korea may need for other parts of the world. And therefore, the Make in India innovations and the Make in India policies of what the government has been conceiving become so very relevant to the times. The third thing that we do is we launch what are known as Atal New India Challenges. And these challenges are to stimulate local product and service innovations that will have national impact at a socio-economic level. Now here again, we have built many partnerships with countries. For example, with Denmark, Atal Innovation Mission and the Technical University of Denmark have launched what is known as a Global Water Challenge. Similarly, with Sweden, we have launched healthcare challenges. With Australia, we launched circular economy related challenges. And we have had young innovators from India and Australia or Denmark or Sweden all combining forces together to co-innovate and create solutions for these challenges which are up and coming in our world and without which we will not have a sustainable planet to live in. Similarly, with Korea, in the area of manufacturing, or in the area of smart cities, or in the area of defense and space, or in the area of greener landscapes, that we need to ensure in our cities, so that our cities do not become clogged with emission and pollution related problems, but we are air to breathe and the ability to be mobile using BRTS systems and advanced transportation systems, or using drone technologies for precision agriculture, or surveillance technologies for defense. There is tremendous opportunity for collaboration between India and Korea, and we should see how we can enhance that. We also have launched what are known as Atal Community Innovation Centers. And these community innovation centers are in order to ensure that the benefits of innovation reach rural parts of India. Tier 2, Tier 3 cities. India is a very large country. We have more than 1.3 billion people, as I said. But more importantly, we have 715 districts in our country. We have more than 8,000 small towns and cities, and we have only 8 Tier 1 cities. We cannot have the population of India migrating to just these 8 Tier 1 cities. It is clearly an unsustainable proposition. So how do we ensure that we create smart infrastructure, smart cities, smart villages? We have 650,000 villages in our country. And out of the 715 districts that are there in our country, 115 of them are aspirational districts, which are at the bottom of the pyramid in terms of basic access to healthcare, education, affordable housing, clean drinking water, sanitation, waste management, and so on. There is a huge opportunity, therefore, to bring innovation, co-innovation between Korea and India to address these challenges of creating smart infrastructure, smart villages, and thereby addressing what the Honorable Prime Minister in his Atmanirbhar Bharat call said, the pillar of infrastructure. How do we ensure smart infrastructure, physical infrastructure, and at the same time, how do we leverage digital infrastructure to reach the power of our products, our innovation, and our services to the remotest parts of the globe? How do we ensure that products manufactured in Kashmir can reach Korea, from Salem to Seattle, from Sikkim to San Francisco, or from Jodhpur to Japan? That is the opportunity that a globally connected economy and global strategic partnerships that we can engineer with Korea can create. And finally, we have also created what are known as mentors of change, a large mentoring network in India that is enabling not only our tinkering labs, our innovators, our incubators, our startups, and our community innovation centers to all get the benefit of all this, but we are able to also get the corporates to partner with many of the initiatives, adopt tinkering labs, adopt incubators, adopt startups, adopt in various sectors that is of interest to Korean companies. And thereby, we'll be able to extend this ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship as a vibrant ecosystem spanning both the countries and bringing tremendous benefit to both the nations. I do look forward to extensive collaboration, not only through this platform, but through various other mechanisms. And Atal Innovation Mission at the Niti Aayog would be very, very happy to partner with Korean companies, multinationals, as well as with the Korean government in all of these initiatives, whether it is in education, whether it is in incubation or in startups, whether it is in community innovation centers, whether it is in new India challenges and new global challenges that we want to address, or whether it be in being able to bring products and services from either of the markets into each other's markets and across the world. Therein lies the great opportunity for what the Honorable Prime Minister has called as Atmanirbhar Bharat, creating a self-reliant India, creating an India that not only serves the interests and the opportunities and the demand that is available in our own country, but also being able to be a source of solution to the rest of the world in collaboration with Korean companies and Korean government. Indeed, India is one of the fastest growing innovative nations of the world, with more than 50,000 startups today in India. But how do we ensure that these startups are able to, in a spirit of partnership, be able to expand even more and even faster to address global challenges and global needs and create that sustainable planet that every one of us wants to live in? How do we ensure that we not only achieve economic progress, but also social progress, and do not leave the 44% of our agri-economy based people back? How do we ensure that we remove the 22% below the poverty line that India still experiences? And how do we ensure that the 115 aspirational districts get converted into advanced districts, which are supported by advancing technology as well as advancing business models? That is the opportunity in front of us. And I'm very, very happy to have been part of this particular occasion of sharing a few thoughts with all of you and being able to see how to work together to create a greater, better, and a more prosperous society. Thank you so much for the time given and the opportunity to share a few thoughts.
Ramananji, thank you so much. Meanwhile, I request you to please give us a minute more. I do understand you have impending meetings. We launched the Avana Aerospace Challenge. I would like to share a small screen on that.
Thank you so much, Manpreet. I want to congratulate the initiative and the launch of Avana by Paras Defense and Space Sector based technology innovation company. I think this is a great opportunity for the defense sector has opened up big time in India. So also as the space sector, as the Honorable Prime Minister and ISRO declared that ISRO would now be open to privatization of many of its components of space sector technology. And I think this is a fantastic opportunity for great partnerships between India and Korea in the area of manufacturing components for defense, for space, for the transportation industry, for smart cities, and so on. And I want to congratulate Paras for this very important initiative. And I think it is a long-range strategic collaboration that's going to provide tremendous dividends for both our countries. So my heartiest congratulations to them.
Thank you, Ramananji. Thank you so much. Anish, the director is online. If you can have a line.
Sir, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to present our innovation challenge. As you know, we are a hardcore manufacturing company based in Mumbai, and we have been supporting a lot of college students, but now we want to open it up to international MSME companies like us, anyone who has some ideas, so we can give them in-house full manufacturing support. They just have to come up with their ideas, concepts, or designs, and we can give them financial support, manufacturing support, marketing support. We are doing business with all the OEMs in India, I would say, all the PSUs. We are doing business with DRDOs. We are doing some challenging projects with DRDOs. We are doing some very critical space optics, which are flying right now. ISRO chairman knows us very well. DRDO chairman knows us because we have been performing, because of which we also get few challenges from our country, wherein we also need partners. That's the reason we have opened a few points which we are readily having some opportunity to go ahead. So we look for your support.
Thank you so much. And please assume that Atal Innovation Mission is formally your partner in this initiative. And we'll be more than happy to support this. And we will have a webinar on this particular subject so that all our incubators, startups, and people from the MSME industry participate wholeheartedly in this particular initiative.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ramananji. Moving on with our session, we would now like to invite a company that has been working with Korea and Koreans since decades. We would like to invite Shri Vaibhav Mittalji and talk about the role of planned manufacturing ecosystems in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat. We would also like to emphasize how small and medium companies, which was highlighted just a little while back, finding it difficult to enter the Indian market. This is where a company like Mahindra's and having an experience with Korea, with Koreans, having a presence in Korea, and would love to have the Koreans coming into India and manufacturing. This is the one-stop shop, if I may say, and have the permission to say, that they can come into India and set up right here. And the floor is all yours, Vaibhav Mittalji. Vaibhav is the Business Head, Mahindra World City, and Origins by Mahindra World City at Chennai. Welcome, sir.
Manpreet, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's real pleasure to be here. I thought while sitting in Chennai, if I can give a glimpse of how the Korea looks like. This is just outside Gyeongbok Palace in Seoul. This is the square. So I thought I'll just add some flavor to the whole, webinar. Manpreet, thanks so much for having us once again. While the topic and the interesting part with these kind of webinars is that most of the intellectual talk has already happened with respect to what Korea can offer, what India can offer, where all the challenges are, and where all we need to work upon. But some of the interesting highlights or some of the important points which I like to really emphasize upon before moving in to the topic which has been given to me is that while we started with the process called Look East policy sometime in 2014 or 13-14, we moved it to Act East policy, and that Act East policy converged very well with the South Korean policy of New Southern Policy, NSP. So it's a convergence of both the Act East policy from Indian side and the New Southern Policy on the Korean side, which has seen a tremendous amount of growth which is being seen between the two countries in terms of trade and commerce which is going on. Apart from that, in 2015, the partnership between Korea and India was, increased from being a bilateral relationship to special strategic partnership. And I think that has also paved way for many new innovations as well as many new investments which are coming in India or going to Korea from India. So these, two important milestones, led the entire growth of the industry and how we see, the growth is being emerging out of this particular relationship. The other important part is that in CEPA, which is the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, which is signed between India and South Korea. For South Koreans, this is the first one with any BRICS nation which has been signed, and it's very, very significant from that point of view. And why I'm highlighting some of these points is because all these initiatives and all these strategic and tactical initiatives lead to companies going into each other's countries and invest into the economy of those countries as well as provide the best practices to the people of those countries. And what we have seen so far is around 600 companies, 600 Korean companies working out of India or established out of India, and they're operating in absolute peace and harmony. Bulk of them are in Chennai area because of Hyundai presence being here and as well as Samsung's presence being here. And now we are seeing Bangalore area emerging a good location because of the Kia Motors availability at Anantapur. And Noida has been a hub for both Samsung and LG for a very long time. So I think these are some of the sectors, some of the locations where we have seen a whole lot of growth from Korean side. What we have seen tremendous amount of growth year on year between the bilateral trade. And the total FDI from Korea to India stands at roughly around $6.94 billion as of 2020. And I think that's a very good number to talk about because that involves just not the brands or the companies we know in public domain like Samsung, Hyundai, Kia, and LG, but it also talks about the ancillary and the vendor additions to these particular companies. So because of those vendors being added into these OEM companies is what we have seen a whole lot of investments coming to India and all these companies putting India on the platter for them as far as the development is concerned. One of the interesting things, from a Mahindra World City or from an integrated investment point of view, which the parks which we develop across, the interesting part is that we provide complete end-to-end solutions for these companies which are coming in. So you can take it like we are like a Google store, Apple store. We are like an app store where you come, you decide which apps to download and use them. Similarly, in Mahindra World City's platform, we have multiple options to choose from for the companies to come and set up their operations. And currently, we have 150 plus companies located in three different locations where we have our industrial parks and integrated cities, right from Jaipur in Rajasthan to Ahmedabad in Gujarat and two in Chennai. And companies coming in from 20 plus countries making it their address is a testimony that the platform at what we have created for the global companies is a very, very strong platform. So what we have done is we provide different options where companies can choose right from taking a simple piece of land to also deciding on a build to suit or a warehousing logistics zones. So we have done a complete end-to-end infrastructure development in these parks, just like what Mahindras have been as a pioneers in automotive business. Similarly, we are the pioneers in the integrated industrial parks and industrial clusters business in India, and that's what we have been doing for last 25 years as far as Mahindra World Cities and Origins is concerned. The other interesting thing is one of the opportunities which both Korea and India offers, and I'll speak very specifically on what Korea can offer to India in today's context, is basically the opportunities in the space, defense, and nuclear energy. And while Anish was telling about the defense related work they do with different ideas and different companies. A very interesting point is that the first defense manufacturing zone or corridor is being established in Tamil Nadu, and most of the large Tamil Nadu, not only just Tamil Nadu but global companies are looking at Tamil Nadu for setting up their operations when it comes to defense manufacturing, and we are seeing a whole lot of investments coming in that particular aspect. And our project, incidentally, is part of the defense zone which has been set up or which is being set up in the Chennai region. Apart from that, it is also part of the Chennai-Bangalore Industrial Corridor, which also helps in greater connectivity both for people as well as product and goods movement. So I think that adds to the whole flavor of what the integrated ecosystem provides for as far as World City is concerned. So today, as we talk, these integrated cities which we have roughly around 5,000 families living inside, calling it as their home. We have both the blue collar workers till the CEOs and expats living in these societies in the integrated cities which we have created. There's a strong retail and commercial zones in these particular parks, and there is an industrial zone where all the industries are located. So it's not a mix and match, but a proper zoning and a proper urban development projects which have been done. They are at par with, when you go to Korea, we talk about two particular developments, that is Incheon as well as Songdo. So they are actually at par with Incheon and Songdo as far as free zones and industrial parks are concerned, both in urban infrastructure and the facilities and services it provides to the companies. The other part which I want to focus upon and talk about is that why these ecosystems are important, why these industrial ecosystems are important is because when you are talking of innovation, when you are talking of a country which is number one in the Bloomberg Index for innovation, and out of 9 years, for 7 years, they have been the toppers. There are companies which come with a lot of expectations in terms of the core infrastructure being provided and the overall experience they get when they invest in a particular country. And with the production-linked incentive schemes being, coming in 13 sectors by Government of India, I think that is something which all the global companies will look at when they come to India and look at a very robust infrastructure. In that space, that is where probably our integrated cities and industrial clusters fall in, where we feel that we can provide a world-class business environment to all these companies. They can come and set up their operations in an absolutely smooth way, in an absolutely clean and transparent way. And also a company like Mahindra, which has a very strong roots in India, both in terms of the social fabric as well as understanding the geopolitical issues and other social dimensions of the country. So they come with a partnership where there's a corporate partner in terms of Mahindra as a group, which is already a $20 billion group, having a large amount of investment in South Korea as well, even SsangYong Motors being the flagship company which is operating out of Korea, and also into various other fields of businesses, and a 75-year-old AAA rated group. So I think the partnership can't get better for any Korean companies when they come and set up their operations in India. And for that to happen, we are already are located in 3 different parts of India, both in north, west, as well as south. And it is just a matter of choice for the South Korean companies to look at which place they want to set up their operations in. Finally, from my side, I think the bilateral trades and statistics can be the numbers which we can talk about, but there's a whole level of potential which we have to talk about. And I think the government of India and South Korean government has worked around a fact that they want to have the trade at around $30 billion, to be emerging out of these two countries' relationship. And I believe that core infrastructure is going to be one such area of interest and one such area of prominence when it comes to investments. While we invite companies from manufacturing to services into our industrial parks, we also look at some of the large developers which are located in South Korea, like the HDC and the other Daewoo Constructions, who are the pioneers as far as infrastructure development is concerned, to come and invest in India and play their role as far as infrastructure development is concerned. Because for the next 25 to 30 years, India will be a work in progress where we will have a whole lot of construction activities going on. As somebody said recently that we just have 8 tier 1 cities. There's a whole lot of infrastructure to be done in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, so that tier 2 can become tier 1 and tier 3 cities can become tier 2. So I believe there's a whole lot of emphasis on that infrastructure development, and that is where probably Korea can play a very, very big role, coming to India and investing the money and businesses over here. From Mahindra World City point of view, from Mahindra Group point of view, all the Korean companies are most welcome. We are right here. We have our colleague sitting in Seoul as we talk. She's also here in terms of our in the webinar as well. So for any requirements, you can reach out to her. She is based out of Seoul. She's a Korean, so she speaks native Korean. We keep getting a lot of Korean delegations on a regular basis. So we are trying to make business easy for the Koreans to come and invest in India, and that's what our aim will always be. So welcome to India, welcome to Mahindra World City, and we look forward to a great relationship and a great partnership emerging from this particular relationship. And I believe that over the next 10 years, there's a whole lot of potential which both the countries can definitely work on. That's it from my side as of now. In case there are some specific questions, more than happy to answer at a later date. Manpreet, over to you. Thank you so much.
Vaibhavji, thank you so much. I mean, the most important point that you mentioned is you are there in Korea, and we can see it too, in fact, in your background. So, and you have your Korean partner sitting right there. So that can definitely be a major facilitator. We will ensure as a chamber, as Indian Chamber of International Business, that we become the binder, we become the glue that can put all these things together and in one place and ensure that there is mutual growth. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Manpreet.
I would now like to call upon Shri Janesh Nayarji. He's the Regional Director of Gyeonggi Business Center at the Government of Korea. The Gyeonggi province is where the capital Seoul is, and we have been interacting with Gyeonggi Business Center since many, many years now, and we have taken many delegations to Korea. We have hosted many delegations from Korea, and we are happy to be partnering Janeshji and his team. Janeshji, welcome to today's forum.
Thank you, Manpreet. How are you? Okay. Thank you for inviting us to such a beautiful session. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Janesh Nair, and I represent the province of Gyeonggi. Now, you must have heard of Korea quite a lot, but being more specific, Gyeonggi is the biggest province in Korea. It is around Seoul, and that's what the word Gyeonggi technically means. And it constitutes about 30% of Korea's total exports. And in the year 2005, the Gyeonggi government has gone ahead and established a branch in Mumbai. And subsequently, the last 16 years, we've had 12 branches all over the world. Now, the basic motive or the basic intention of Gyangi province to establish a branch in India was to actually promote not the bigger companies, but the smaller medium sectors. Now, I think a lot has been said about larger companies coming in, but I think we are generally focused on the smaller medium sector, and we believe that is the area in which a lot of help is required in terms of people to come together. And Gyangi is actually home to all the biggest Korean giants such as Samsung, POSCO, Kia, all the manufacturing units are there. But we represent about 110,000 Korean SMEs in various fields. Now, how is it that we can help an Indian company or a Korean company to come together is that we believe that the essence of trade is communication and meeting. And that is what we have been doing over the past few years. We have been organizing a lot of trade delegation. We've had an MOU signed with the Maharashtra government for mutual cooperation in trade. We've also had an MOU signed with ICIB, and Manpreet and his members have frequently visited Korea. And well, the last year has not been as good for anyone, but we moved a step forward on how to progressively encourage trade. And we've taken all our activities, about 80% of our activities online. And one of the highlights is we are holding an exhibition by the name of G-Fair, which is Korea Sourcing Fair. And this is the only fair concentrated on Korean products. And we've been doing it for the last 13 years. And this year also, we have taken it online. We have 120 companies which will be exhibiting their products in an online platform in coming April 21st to April 23rd. Now, what is so unique about this exhibition is that we have 120 Korean companies which deal, all are manufacturers. So they deal in cosmetics, they deal in industries, heavy machinery, home appliances, and electronics. So this will actually enable the visitors to actually not only view, but to interact on a virtual platform to talk about their products. And what GBC or Gyangi Business Center can further do after this to actually help you meet these companies, exchange information, give you the kind of credibility that you need. Now, we're all sure that one of the reasons that trade doesn't take place is not because the company is not doing well or there's a pricing issue, but basically a trust issue that comes in place. So what GBC does is we will ensure that we do a thorough checking of the Korean company and also explain to the Korean company regarding the various attributes of the Indian company and connect together. There is no financial obligation, nothing is involved. We are purely a Government of Korea supported entity, and our mission for the last 16 years has been to establish and promote trade between India and Korea. And talking about partnerships, now I've understood in this forum that a lot of companies were not very successful in coming out and establish in India. And one of the things that was suggested was, of course, to have a close partnership and identify what is good. And one of companies that I represent, which are actually dealing in panels for lighting, had collaborated with another Indian SME, which actually is marketing LED lights. So what they did is they bought the core panel of the lighting from Korea, and the assembly and packaging was done in India to actually promote the products here, and they have been quite successful. So I look forward to having such partnerships coming forward. And if any of you need any help in regards to finding or locating a company in Korea, we have a mix of Indian and Korean staff in the office, which would love to talk to you, and we will take you ahead with the companies that we had. We will be able to supply the samples. We'll be able to open dialogues. And I know there is a huge difference in language and communication between India and Korea, but we hope to bridge that culture gap to much, much smaller so that we can promote promote trade together. So I will be putting up the information regarding the upcoming exhibition and our credentials. And if any of you need any help with any Korean products or just have an inquiry, please feel free to contact me or Manpreet's office, and we'll be able to go ahead and give you a satisfactory partnership or probably introduce you to something which is good. And second thing is we've already spoken about SEPA. Now, one of the things that I always get is, Chinese products are much better or Taiwanese is much better. I'm sure in terms of comparison, they might be. But the added advantage that you have is because of the basic exemption of taxes because of SEPA, you will be having a 10 to 20% price difference when you're importing from a different country. So therefore, this will offset the pricing issue that we faced. And in order to go ahead and avail these benefits, the manufacturer in Korea needs to get a certificate of origin and proving that there's about 35% value addition that is done in Korea. We will be able to help you in that also. So anyway, it has been very interesting to hear and participate in this forum in which we're talking about issues. So I am not a large company. I'm a helper of the common businessman in the small and medium sector. So if you are a company less than 500 employees and you're looking forward to expand here, I would love to, talk to you and please participate in our exhibition. And ICIB has been, very imperative in actually going ahead and expanding our reach. Before we used to have the exhibition in Mumbai. Now I'm, last year around 90 cities all over India were able to participate in the exhibition. So this is a 3-day event. I would love to see you guys there. Do give me a call and let's keep in touch. And thanks, Manpreet, for this wonderful job that you're doing. I hope you can keep this up. Thank you so much.
Janesh, thank you so much. You are my new best friend the moment you say small and medium companies and trips to Korea. So definitely, yes.
Welcome. Yes. I'm sure after the COVID finishes, I would love to take a delegation of a lot of people to Korea. And I would be able to extend accommodation and other services to you on my behalf. So, it's not it's a proven thing. So let's look forward to going to Korea next year then.
That being said, we are only going to be taking members, so do take the ICIB membership.
Oh,
do contact our office for that. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Janesh.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we have one speaker. We have a lovely speaker today after you, Janesh. She's joining us from Korea. And she is Ms. Jae-hee Chang. She's the Director and Korea Business Development Global Innovation 500 Startups. Ms. Chang.
Nice.
Ms. Chang, are you around?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, welcome to today's session and thank you for being with us at such short notice.
Thank you for inviting me. So should I just go ahead and then...
Yes, please. Please do go ahead. Floor is
All
yours.
right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me, ICIB. This is a great opportunity to share some of the knowledges about Korean startup ecosystems. I'm Jae-hee Chang. I lead business development in Korea as a member of 500 Startups Global Innovation Team. I work with governments, enterprises, and other stakeholders in driving innovation and developing startup ecosystems. As many of you know, 500 Startups is mostly well known as a venture capital firm, but we are also an accelerator and an ecosystem builder together as a company on a mission to uplift people and economies through entrepreneurship. I'm here today to share information about Korean startup ecosystems and hope this can be helpful to some of the participants. So I was asked to share how best I can describe the startup ecosystems in Korea. So once solely a conglomerated economy with limited entrepreneur tradition, now Korea has become a thriving startup hub welcoming innovation and startup culture. And the question is, how has this happened? And just to add a note, no other startup ecosystem has reached the 10 unicorn threshold as quickly as Korea, assuming that it has all begun in 2013. As of 2020, we have 11 unicorns. So how did this happen? I would like to highlight two things. First, it's the government's commitment to grow and develop startups. So there was an exponential growth in fund size from 1 billion USD to 4 billion USD. This is a transition from like Park administration, if you're familiar with the Korean administration, to Moon's administration, they exponentially increased the size of the fund to start invest in the startups. And this provided ample seed funding for early stage startups. And another thing is that the government put a lot of effort in organizing accelerators and incubators in co-working spaces. As a result, there's more than 300 co-working spaces in Korea, more than 170 incubators and accelerators nationwide. And another thing is they elevated the public awareness around the startups. So people understand better, and thus the whole ecosystem works better based on this increased public awareness. And second, successful deployment of a public and private partnerships. I don't know whether you guys are familiar with Korean programs such as TIPS, which stands for Tech Incubator Program for Startups. So basically, this is an accelerator investment-driven program. So they select startups and accelerate them, and then the private sector select and accelerate the startups, and then government helps their growth, driving the growth. And another thing is the creative economy and innovation centers. There are 19 centers across the country. This is a joint support of a regional government and one of the Korean conglomerates, such as Samsung, LG, and SK. So basically, one government in a creative economy center is matched with a large company, and then they together invest and grow startups. I would have to say the private funding, such as venture capital, is still in progress of propelling this growth. In Korea, there are currently more than 300 financial institutions funding startups. About 5.5 billion USD has been invested domestically in 2018. I'm pretty sure in 2019 it was a little bit more than that. And but still the highest proportion goes to the selected top startups. So I think the government is now pushing towards those more seed money to be invested in the startups. And all this together, I think, has created such a fast growth in the Korean startup ecosystem building. The second question that I was asked was Korea being the world leader in innovation. Thank you. What do I think India can learn from Korea, and how best can people and companies from both countries work together for a better and brighter future? This question, I think it can be answered in two ways. First, worth looking into Korean ecosystem that I just described, the growth model, public-private partnerships. So government initiatives is a must, looking at the Korean case, and especially lifting up on the regulations. So Korean government to lift the venture capital regulations so more private sectors and then foreign companies can inject more capital. And also funding. So like the government initiated funding has increased a lot, so which kind of completed this capital injection. And those co-working spaces were very, very helpful. Like the startups having spaces, the physical working spaces has been helping a lot. I mean, except last year, which a lot of things moved into virtual. So we'll have to kind of see whether co-working space was quite important, or was it that accelerators and incubators who have been incubating those startups based on these co-working spaces. And then private sector's follow-on movement was very helpful, growing Korea's innovation. For example, a lot of large companies initiated open innovation movement. They engaged in the startups in a form of like investment, but also a lot more on the POC, like proof of concept, developing together and commercialize them. So, these kind of movements are worth looking into And how the second part of the question was how best we can work together. Was that one point was that, you know, some business models do not work in Korea. So I know the investors and accelerators reach out to other markets where the business model can work. So I think on this note, I think information exchange, networking is quite important. So these information can be shared on the timely manner and creating business opportunities on both sides. And the third question was, can you please let us know more regarding the Korean Startup 500 initiative? Thank you for asking this question. So we work with the government helping Korean startups go global mostly. So recently we worked with KeySet on a Global Startup Academy. So KeySet is an organization where they select startups, Korean startups, and help the startups to go global. So mostly in the post Series A startups on the growth stage, looking into the market access. And also we have worked with the Korean Innovation Center to run the market access program about the US market and elsewhere in the global. We have more than 60 programs running around the world, helping startups to grow domestically and internationally. And also we help corporations with their startup engagement. So we introduce both Korean and global startups to Korean companies and help them to have a successful POC development. Often startups and the large companies do not understand each other very well and then have a very difficult time working together and then commercialize the output of cooperation. And we've managed to get ourselves in between the large companies and the startups, and then draw the successful POC experience for both sides. And what we want to do more is probably bridging this gap of knowing, not knowing and not understanding. So to bridge the gap across countries, bridging the gap between the large companies and the small, medium-sized companies. And on the other note, we also have fund team based in Korea who are actively investing in early stage Korean startups and help them go global. Last but not least, the fourth question that I was asked was, what will you advise an Indian startup that's willing to make Korea his home research and startup base? As I mentioned earlier, the government support is not just for the Korean startups. Government-sponsored foreign startup incubation program also exists, such as K-Startup Grand Challenge. It not only provides a funding, but also provides a co-working space use and a targeted accelerating programs as a package for the foreigners. So please look for those informations. And I think what's more important for the continuous business growth for those startups is the connections and networks to private funds and Korean startups. And how do you get this as a foreign startup is a big question, right? And I think the easy answer, but the crucial thing is that you have to develop this kind of relationship network through participating in various government-sponsored events, and also reaching out to community builders such as Startup Alliance. And also, I think you can put out your local and market expertise, and then overcome the language barrier issues by laying out what your startup is and then what the help that you are needed. There are resources. I think it's just a matter of how to find them. So I think the government agencies are actively sharing their resource information on the web pages. It's really easy to find. If you have a problem, I can probably help. Yes, so find the information, reach out, and then get involved in the community. And I think those are really important. 500 Startups has a team in India. I don't know whether you guys know. So please reach out to me if you would like to get contact information. And that's what I have prepared for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Zhang. It's a pleasure to have you with us here today. And all this was very enlightening information, how the ecosystem in Korea evolved. And today, Korea is the #1 in ecosystem and in startup. So it's definitely going to be a learning curve for us in India. And we would definitely like to work together with all the organizations there and here and look forward to get a win-win situation. Thank you so much for being with us. We would now like to open up for question and answer. If anybody has any questions, just a second. Can the participants please try to unmute yourselves and see if you can talk? Okay, now I request anybody who wants to unmute, please unmute yourself, introduce yourself, ask your question. Please direct it to the person you want to ask it to. We will be happy to have it answered. Any questions, anyone?
If there is no question, this is Sanjay here from Andhra Pradesh, and this presentation was very informative, and we invite startup and investors to visit Andhra Pradesh, and we have shared what policy we offer, as well as on the basis of the investment we have tailor-made policies. We can discuss on it. Also, my colleague will get in touch with Ms. Chang for startup. We want to get some learning from her, as well as we can see how we can cooperate and make it more success here in our state. Thank you very much.
Nandakishore ji, we will be happy to be the facilitators, and we will be happy to help our own state under for anything that they need. Please do get connected with us, and we shall be happy to connect both of us. Sure. And looks like there are no other questions, so I would really like to thank our partners today, the Niti Aayog, Atal Innovation Mission, Government of Andhra Pradesh, APEICA, Gyeonggi-do Business Center, Gyeonggi-do Business and Science Accelerator, Kotra, our partner chambers, which is a Karelia Chamber of Commerce in Russia, World Chamber of Commerce, IBG Chamber of Commerce, and Global India Business Forum. I request if there's anybody from the partner chambers to just have a word. And a big thank you to Mahindra World City for being a partner and powering this session in today's meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manpreet.
Thank you, Vaibhavji. Anybody else? Anybody from the partner organizations?
Hello.
Hello, Ekritina. How are you? We are always happy to have you.
Thank you very much. We would like to thank you for inviting us to be a partners of your events. It's already our second event with you, and we will be glad to join the next ones. From my behalf and behalf of our president, Mr. Alexander Pankratov, we were very happy to hear how really good is going your cooperation with Korea. And we invite everybody to also cooperate with us in that question, and wish you all the best in future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Very soon we are going to be having one session with Russia and Russian organizations, and you're going to be one of the most important players in that one.
Great to hear that. We'll wait for it.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure. A big thank you once again to Mahindra World City and all the other partners for the event. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Manpreet.